Photography Explained podcast episode 175. How to use your gear to improve your compositions. What if I use my phone to take photos? What indeed? Well, here is, when I can find it, the bit from the script. Well, you have a lovely big screen, and if you have an iPhone, you have the rule of thirds built into the default camera app to help you. That lovely big screen helps, but I still struggle to get compositions right with my phone. Hopefully you don't, I still do. But the horizontal lines, they do help me to get things level, and the vertical lines and intersections are essential in my compositions. So I'm talking about, in your viewfinder, you've got horizontal line here, vertical lines here and here, dividing the screen into 9 areas. The intersection points are a great place to put points of interest, or like significant parts of, say, a building, which is what I photograph. And if you use either the top third line or the bottom third line to put the horizon on, you'll already have a better composition than just placing it slap bang in the middle. And you can instantly turn an average photograph into a good photograph. Now, as to the things that I mentioned in episode 175, you got less choice with the phone. Of course you have. We accept that. Well, we should accept that, shouldn't we? But you can get lenses that you can attach to a phone, and there are, of course, different lenses built into phones these days. Now, my iPhone 15 Pro, it's got a focal length range from 13 to 77 millimeters. Pretty impressive, and that's on different lenses, but we do have to take that with a pinch of salt because this doesn't equate precisely to camera focal lengths, which is a shame, I have to say. So I'm not going to go into the numbers here. I did start looking at them, but it got far too complicated. But the field of view is the field of view regardless of the device. So the field of view, the angle is fixed, and I go into that in the episode, and I explain the difference between standard lenses, wide-angle lenses, telephoto lenses, and how this equates to phones as well. And one thing I do love with Apple on the new iPhone 15 Pro, which I'm fortunate enough to have one of, it's got the 0.5, 1 times, 2 times, and 3 times magnifications. Now, this makes more sense to me. They've added the focal lengths to the numbers, but they don't really work, do they? Because how can you have a 77mm focal length on a phone? There isn't 77mm of depth in there, is there? And focal length is a physical dimension within a lens, so that doesn't work for me. But fair play for the 1 times, 2 times, 3 times. That works, and you could use those and ditch focal length, and well, I'd be happy anyway. Do we care about focal length? Well, no. I say no, get rid of focal length. If every camera and every phone had the same field of view, where 1 times was how we see the world, which is roughly 40 degrees, that's 1 times on every device, so we're all talking about the same thing. That has to be a good thing to me. Then we can ditch focal length. Now, with a phone, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, and you can change the focal length in the field of view, but there's not a huge amount more you can do. Sure, there's fancy stuff you can do with apps, but in terms of the physical composition, which is what I'm talking about here in gear, that's your main option. Don't forget, you're starting from a wider angle, so the subject, it appears further away from you, and you've got a wider field of view than on a standard lens. Now, generally, apertures and shutter speeds are fixed, although I'm sure there's going to be apps out there that allow you to change these things. No, I don't use them. But the main thing is to change the focal length, or, as I prefer to call it, the field of view. Now, beware zooming in a lot, as there is a difference between using different focal lengths and then using digital zooming. Using the iPhone 15 Pro, which I have, that's got 3 different lenses. I think it's got 3 different lenses. Yeah, there's 3 of them things on the back there. And it's also got the ability to zoom in more, but that's digitally. And the more you zoom in, the harder it gets to get a sharp photo. Blimey, that was a long section on what if I use a phone to take photos. Anyway, check out episode 175 for lots more on this subject of how you can use the gear to improve your compositions. Check out the podcast website, photographyexplainedpodcast.com, and fill in the form there, and you can get a weekly email from me. How utterly splendid. Check out the podcast at all good podcast providers. Get in touch, ask me a question. Be great to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick.